A part of being a good analyst is bringing in data sources from multiple places. Now, in this course, we're focused exclusively on packet analysis, but there's a couple things you have to consider when you're doing packet analysis from multiple hosts or when you're consulting packet data in conjunction with another data source, so maybe a system log or a Windows event log or something like that. And that's time. You really have to think about time and the synchronization between those different sources. Now, we talked about time display options earlier in some of the cases where you might want to use a different time display option, and that's certainly important. But you also have to consider that synchronization too. Ideally, in any network, everything is syncing up to the same time server, using something like network time protocol perhaps to do that, and all your times are really tightly synced down to the millisecond, and that's not going to be an issue. In practice and in my role consulting, I find that that is often not the case. And even if you think most of your devices are syncing to the same time sources, they might always not be. That might not always be the case. So, one of the things Wireshark provides, and is a feature that you probably need to get familiar with, is the ability to time shift or to adjust the timestamps on packets so that they match up with other time sources you're dealing with. Now, consider a scenario where you're investigating something. You're doing a security exercise, and you found a user, maybe a user is logged into a particular system and then browsed to a website. That might be hosting malicious content, right? And so let's say this is that packet capture. That's not what this packet capture is that I have on the screen. Let's say that's what we're looking at here is someone browsing the web on a device that they've logged into and they shouldn't have. Now, you're going to have two data sources you can look at here. One is the packet capture that's on the screen, and the other are the Windows logs, the authentication logs, and other system logs that are present on that machine. Now, let's say that you hope they were synced to the same time source, but you've looked and they're actually not, and the packet capture is actually 2 seconds off. Let's say it's 2 seconds too fast, so we need to subtract 2 seconds from all these timestamps to make this sync up. So I want to show you how to do that. Before we do that, however, notice the time display format is set to the default here, seconds since beginning of capture. That's fine for a lot of exercises, but especially for security exercises or where you need to sync up your time to a real time, like a time you would recognize on a clock, you want to change that. So we're going to go to View, Time Display Format, and I often like to do date and time of day, this first one, but for this exercise we'll just do time of day only, and I'll go ahead and expand that out a little bit so it's a little more clear. So you see we're starting this packet capture at 10:40:43, and in this case we actually want to subtract 2 seconds from that because it's 2 seconds ahead. So that's pretty easy here. I'm going to right click the packet, in this case it can be any packet, and I'm going to go to this time shift option. Now there's a couple different things we can do here. The first option is to shift all packets by a specific time. The other option is to set the time for one packet, set it to something specific. Then I can set the next packet, and I can tell it to extrapolate if I need to. I don't use this option as much. Most of the time I'm shifting the entire capture. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and paste in this value I have. And in this case, we're looking at hours, minutes, seconds, and I have a minus here. And that minus is basically saying subtract 2 seconds from every packet in this capture. If I wanted to add 2 seconds, I could do the same thing, just change the minus to a plus. So pretty straightforward, not too crazy. So before we do this, notice here we're looking at 10:40:43. So I'm going to hit apply here. And notice we changed to 10:40:41. So we just subtracted 2 straight seconds. We could get that down to milliseconds or whatever here by adding another decimal place, as you see in this format here. But in this case, I just subtracted 2 seconds. Now, one thing you want to be concerned about here, watch what happens if I close this. I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to open it back up. I'm going to go back here to time shift. The value I entered in this shift all packets by window is not retained. It's not there anymore. So if you don't remember how much you shift a packet capture by, then that's going to be lost to you here, and you won't be able to go in and revert it just by entering the opposite. So I can't just enter, if I forgot it was 2 seconds, I can't just enter +02 because I obviously don't know that anymore. So you want to be cognizant of how much you're shifting the time by. Obviously, if it's a data source that you're referencing a lot and you know it's out of a sync a little bit, you're probably going to get to know that by memory. Worst case scenario, there is this option here at the bottom. It says undo all shifts, and it's kind of your get out of jail free card. You can apply this and it will basically undo everything. So you see we're at 10:40:41 and I hit apply and it's going to change it back to 10:40:43. So there's a record of the original timestamp format, and by hitting the undo all shifts button, Wireshark is going to allow you to revert that back. So this is something you'll find yourself doing quite a bit when you're comparing with other data sources, especially even if you just have two different machines and maybe you've merged a packet capture together between those two machines and you need to sync up the times. That's certainly a case you do that in general troubleshooting. And also security is the other big one. Most of the time in security, you're not relying on PCAP alone. You have operating system logs or DNS logs or flow data or any other number of data sources, and the timestamps might not match up perfectly. So this is how you're going to get those in sync. So this is a short lesson here, but this is critically important if you need to do these time shifting exercises. So make sure you're comfortable doing that as well.